Since the Adobe Color Themes tool has been removed from Photoshop, we have to use that tool on the Adobe Color website. Here I have Photoshop open with a photo loaded, and it's actually the same photo that you see Aaron using in his tutorial. I also have the, here it is, Adobe Color website open. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing the color tool that would normally be embedded right into Photoshop. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this tool to continue on with this tutorial. And I want to show you, in this video, I want to show you how to do that. So the process will be very similar to the way Aaron describes it. The first thing we need to do is sample the color that we want to use as our main color from our subject. So in this case, the subject is the woman, and she's got that really cool hat and the skirt to match. So that's going to be our base color. So in Photoshop, I want to activate the eyedropper tool. Now, if you don't see it down the left side menu, just press I on your keyboard to activate the eyedropper tool. In Aaron's video, he says to go up to the top and to change the sample size from point. It should by default, it will be on point, but we actually want it on 31 by 31. So you select 31 by 31, and then you click on the part of your subject that you want to sample the color from. So in this case, I'm going to click on the woman's hat. And if you look here at the bottom of your left side tool panel, my foreground color is now the exact color of her hat, which is an average sample of all the pixels of her hat. What you need to do now is double click on that foreground color icon at the bottom of your left side tool panel. The color picker window will come up. Notice this number right here at the very bottom of the window is the hexadecimal number. Highlight that number. On your keyboard, press Control C. Now you can click OK on the color picker window to close it. Navigate back to Google to the Adobe Color website. Way over on the left side of the website, be sure to have complementary checked. So we want to utilize a complementary color scheme. Now we have to set the base color to be the same color as the one you sampled. So remember, the base color is indicated by this little white triangle, and it should be defaulted to the center color in the 5-color spectrum. Simply double click this hex number, and on your keyboard, press Control V to paste in the value that you brought in from Photoshop. Hit enter, and your new color should be there in the middle as the base color. And then what we see on the right side are the complementary colors. So you actually see two versions, and basically they're just two different shades, but it's actually the same color. So you would be able to choose which one you want to use. And that's the next step, is to choose the color you want to use as the complementary color. So I want to choose color E on the far right side. So all I need to do is double click the hex number, Control C to copy it, go back to Photoshop. So essentially we're kind of doing the opposite of what we did. We're coming back to Photoshop with a new color. Turn off my eyedropper tool by pressing the selection tool, or the move tool it's called in Photoshop, at the top of the left side tool panel. Then I need to switch my foreground and background colors by clicking this little double-headed arrow. So now white is my background color. Your foreground and background color were most likely black and white to begin with. But remember, we made the foreground color the color from the image. So I sampled the pixels from the woman's hat. That established my foreground color. Now I need to switch foreground and background colors. So now my background color is white, but I want it to be that green that I'm bringing from the Adobe Color website. So I double click the white foreground color icon. I go over to the hex cell, highlight it, and press Control V on my keyboard to paste in the hex number from the green that the Adobe Color tool calculated for me. And that's exactly what it did, is it calculated the exact complementary color of that hue of red that I pasted into the tool. Now I simply click OK, and we can see at the bottom of the left side tool panel, I have my green, which in this case is acting as the foreground color, and then my second color, the red, which is my initial color. So those two colors are complementary to one another, complementary colors. So now you should be able to continue on with Aaron's tutorial, which involves changing your background color to your new color, the complementary color of one of the colors from your subject. Ask for help if you need it. If you've gotten this far in Aaron's video, you probably have the color fill layer added, and you've got your new foreground color staining, we can say, the entire photo because you have your color blend, layer blend mode set. And then later in the video, Aaron proceeds to show, he turns that layer off. So I'm going to turn off my color fill layer. And then he proceeds to add an adjustment layer. So he goes up to layer, new adjustment layer, hue saturation. Now nothing happens until he clicks the colorize feature in the properties panel. And then there we go. We have the new complementary color added as a hue saturation adjustment layer. The only thing I'll point out is that the lightness, if you look here in the layers panel, or sorry, the properties panel, the lightness is set at 0. But in the video, Aaron starts to play with these sliders because he's trying to make the point that you can actually punch in the HSB values. And so in Photoshop, we don't have access to that color themes tool. But if we go back to the Adobe Color website, look at the left of the window, the far left side of the window. The color mode is set at RGB, and we do have the RGB values down the right-hand side. There's a column that's just to the right of these sliders. Remember, we got the hex value by double-clicking and highlighting that hex value number. But if we switch the color mode to HSB, so way over here on the left side of the window again, HSB, now we've got the hue, saturation, and brightness numbers. So I could take these numbers, 158, 67, go back to Photoshop, and actually punch that in, 158 and 67. So that's in case, yeah, there you go. So there's that color. And now notice how if I can play with the lightness. 58 was the number. See, so lightness, the lightness is something that you might want to tweak. I mean, even the saturation, you can go ahead and play with the saturation, and you can make it as saturated as you want. I wouldn't change the hue because then you're actually changing the color. And remember, we use the Adobe Color website to mathematically identify the exact complementary color of the color that you sampled from the subject of your photo. So leave the hue number set as is, but certainly play with the saturation and the lightness to achieve the background color that you want. And then when you're done, proceed with Aaron's video to do the next step. Near the end of the process, Aaron uses the brush tool and paints with white to clean up, or like to apply the layer mask to more of the photo. I want to remind you that if you paint with black, then you can remove that mask and let more of the photo show. So for instance, if you look at my little experiment that I'm doing, the green has been applied to the woman's eyes too much, and I even see some in her blouse. So remember that we can remove a mask by painting with black. So I'm going to switch my foreground and background color. So my foreground color now is black. I'm going to activate my brush tool. I have a nice soft brush. I'm going to zoom in, Control plus to zoom in, and then make my brush tool a little bit smaller, and then just paint. Actually, I don't even really need to zoom in because I don't want that green on any part of the woman, right? So we keep a pretty large brush, but see, I'm removing that green, and I can even do it here on her blouse, on her shirt here. So this is how you can take back, or get back some of the original photo, the colors from the original photo, without having that complementary color applied to the parts that you don't want. Basically, you don't want the complementary color applied to any of the foreground, right? Now, if you make an error and you accidentally brush into the background, well, then just switch your paint brush color to white so that you can make that mask visible again. And there we go. So remember, you can use your brush tool as long as, and you must be on the layer mask, but you can use your brush tool to modify how much of that adjustment layer is showing on various parts of your photo.